All right, so you're looking to make a move to Rochester, New York. Should you rent? Should you buy? That is the ultimate question. We're gonna answer that for you right now.
Let's go. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Anthony. It's my partner Avery, and we are American Home Team. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that little notification bell so you're notified every Tuesday and Thursday that we release a new video.
100%, guys, and we are licensed realtors here in upstate New York. So that means as much as we love making these videos for you guys on beautiful sunny days like this, we would love even more to help you with your real estate needs here in upstate New York. Feel free to shoot us a call, a text, or an email to the number and email address provided. We are the guys that answer those phone calls, texts, and emails. Almost lost it there. And we would love to speak with you guys. But without further ado, we are talking about whether or not you should rent or buy here in the Rochester real estate market. All right, guys, so getting right into it. So first things first, it's going to be different for everybody. There is no one size fits all when it comes to renting or buying. And in fact, we get clients all the time that want to buy a house, and we actually tell them that, hey, it's probably not wise for you right now at this stage of your life to purchase a home. Yep. And renting would be the better option. And we're gonna explain all of those options or some of those reasons that we tell buyers that. But number one is really like, what kind of lifestyle do you want to have, or what kind of lifestyle do you have currently?
Yeah, guys, so as far as lifestyle goes, if you're renting, you have more flexibility as far as, you know, relocating or moving around, or really anything that you can do. While you might have a year-long contract or something like that, typically there are ways to break that lease. Normally you can pay out the rest of the year's rent, right? Or your landlord specifically may have some sort of clause in there where you can break the lease if you give them enough time. Whereas if you buy a house, normally you're gonna be stuck on, if you sell within a year or within 2 years rather, you're gonna be hit with a pretty hefty tax, a capital gains tax. So there's something that you can look out for.
If you make more money from it.
If you make more money, right? In today's market in this area, chances of you making more money are pretty high. So there's the taxes there, and it's harder to just pick up the house and leave. You know, whereas if you're renting, typically, and again, all of this is generally speaking, you're going to have less stuff, right? Most renters, I think, in the area we find are young families. They're not families with 6 kids. Right. You know, normally,
or young professionals, single individuals.
And so they can just kind of like up and leave if they get relocated for a job or something like that. So it's a little bit less of a hassle to be able to break a lease than it is to sell yourself out of a house, I guess.
That's right. And then the other aspect of the lifestyle is like, hey, maybe you're starting out your job, right? You're a young professional and you're starting out, and so you're working a lot, right? You work from 8 in the morning to 8 at night because you're trying to climb your way up that corporate ladder, or you're out at networking events all the time, or whatever the case is, right? Owning a home takes a lot of time and maintenance. I have about 75 things on the honey-do list right now that we just haven't got to do because of time. And if you're a single person or a young professional, or like you just got out of college, or maybe don't even have the know-how, right? That's gonna be a lot more tricky for you to figure out how to get all those things done. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the means, financial means, to hire all of that work out right away.
So whenever we're helping buyers find a house, right? And you know, maybe some buyers, the husband is always looking for some sort of deal, right? They're, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that.
That's me.
The wife is always like, honey, can you really? Do you actually have the time? Do you actually have the skill? Do you actually have the know-how? Willing to call them out on that, right? Like Avery's projects here have been in the works for, what, a year now. So that is typically what happens, right? If you don't have the means, for whatever reason, time or whatever, to hire it out, you are, I mean, you're kind of stuck in those.
And so, you know, with that said, in that case, if you don't have the wherewithal to do any of that stuff, then renting is probably your jam. It's probably gonna be the best for you, just because you don't have to worry about building maintenance. You don't have to, like, you are responsible for your apartment and your apartment only. So cleaning it, right? Making sure that your stuff is not falling apart, However, if it is falling apart, you call up management and ask them to fix it, right? If your shower breaks or your toilet clogs or something, ask management to fix it. They'll have someone there in 48 hours to fix it.
We actually just came from a house where this couple is selling their house. Great couple. Both of them are medical professionals. They have amazing jobs, but they just don't have the time at home to make the renovations and to take care of the things that need to be taken care of. And so in a case like that, renting for a lot of people is in the cards. It should be in the cards because you don't have the time to make those necessary repairs in a house if you're looking for equity, if you're looking for longevity and really to be happy in that house. So lifestyle is a big part. What kind of lifestyle do you want? What kind of lifestyle do you have? What kind of time do you have? All of that are things to think about. All right, guys, moving right along. When talking about renting versus buying, you're gonna be looking at the short-term initial costs, right? Money out of pocket. That's oftentimes what a lot of people are concerned about. When we talk to buyers who, in the process of trying to save for a down payment or closing costs or whatever the case is, cash in your pocket is always the biggest concern. Do I have enough? And so if that's ever an issue for you, renting is probably more feasible because you're gonna have to come out of pocket a little bit less money, actually quite a bit less money than actually buying a house at first, right? So in the short term, cash out of pocket is cheaper.
But when you buy a home, it's an investment, right? Buying a home's an investment. So you gain equity throughout the years and through every renovation, all of those projects that you actually finish, that gains equity, that adds equity to your house. And so if you were to cash out, you'd make a ton more money than obviously if you were to do any kind of renovation to a rental or something of that nature, which you would never do, but nonetheless proving the point that the investment side of things is much greater on the home buying side. However, once again, if you're a young professional, maybe a single individual, or just a young family where you don't have a ton of money, like Anthony said, renting is gonna be the cheaper way to go for the short term. And you can take that time and save up your down payment, save up a reserve, right? Some kind of reserve, whether it's 10 grand, 12 grand, 15, whatever it is, to protect yourself if anything were to happen, because heaven forbid you lose your job or you decide to quit your job and go back to college or whatever. You need some money set aside if you're owning a home. With a lease, sometimes you can work it out with the landlord, or you can downsize into something even smaller and cheaper.
And so that would be, I think, our number one piece of recommendation if you were to rent, would be make sure it's something that is affordable, even if you lose a job, right?
That's right.
Even if you lose the current living situation that you're in now, if you were to lose that income or lose one of your incomes or whatever, if you have a partner, then you can afford it on just that one income, right?
That's right.
And I think that is super important. So the other thing to be cognizant of is the cost of repairs. So when you own a home, you are 100% financially responsible for any repairs and upgrades that you put into that house. Whereas if you were renting, like Avery mentioned in the last point there, as far as lifestyle and having the time to do it, as a renter, you're not responsible for the furnace or the hot water or the sink or something like that, you know? So you just don't need to worry about that financially.
Yeah, and the first month that I moved into my house, I put in a water softener. That was $7,000. So the cost of owning a home is gonna be a lot more when it comes to that maintenance and repairs.
Yeah, guys, so the other thing to be cognizant of is cost of maintenance, right? So if you're renting an apartment or you're renting a house or something, typically you're not responsible for the financial burden of whatever those fixes may be, right? If the furnace breaks or the hot water heater breaks or your sink gets clogged or whatever the case is, right? Avery mentioned that having the time to be able to fix those things, right? If that isn't in your lifestyle, the financial burden is also something to recognize as well. Whereas in a house, you're 100% financially liable for that, unless they're barring some sort of home warranty or whatever situation may be going on there, or an insurance claim or something, you are still responsible for that house. So there are some big ticket items, a furnace, a hot water heater, a whole HVAC system, could be upwards of, depending on the size of the house, $7,000, $8,000. Like there's a lot of money to be spent on a house just on upgrades and fixes alone.
Yeah, when my wife and I, we bought our house a year and a half ago, the first month that we lived there, we installed a new water softener system, which was $7,000. And that's out of your pocket. A lot of that can be financed if you want to finance that. However, the cost of owning a home and doing those repairs and having that maintenance, I would say that a water softener that we installed was more of a maintenance thing, right? Because we didn't want hard water going through our plumbing all of the time, because later on, right, we have all of that, the plumbing system, you know, having clogs and everything else, right? All the damage that the sediment and stuff can do in the plumbing system. That $7,000, we paid that up front so that we didn't have those back end issues.
Yep.
But a lot of people aren't necessarily prepared for that kind of thing. So the cost of home ownership and those repairs and that maintenance sucks.
And that's not to include the septic or, you know, any issues that you might have with a well, right? Where you want normal inspections done. You got to pay for that.
Yep.
A septic inspection could be anywhere from $200 to $500.
Yep.
So being financially prepared for that is extremely important.
For sure. All right, guys, and with all of that said, right, there's some of the benefits and the downfalls of owning a home versus renting, right? Now that you know that, guys, Rochester is a great market, is a great place to do both of those things, whether it's own a home or rent, right? Our rental market is fantastic. Yeah, it's a little expensive, but compared to a lot of other major metros or major markets, we're a lot cheaper. And then with home ownership, we're a lot cheaper than a lot of the country as well.
Yeah, guys, so we have friends and acquaintances who, you know, they're renting studio apartments in LA or San Francisco or even really anywhere out west, Seattle, Washington, or wherever, and they're paying, for a studio apartment, they're paying $3,000 a month. Studio apartment here, you're looking at maybe $800 a month. So it's far cheaper. And to be honest with you, we are the guys to talk about this little debate of renting and buying because we've both owned homes. I sold my home and now my wife and I are renting. We made that decision primarily for the maintenance reasons, right? It's just a lot of work and we have a newborn, so it's just a lot. And
sometimes you don't have the time.
Personally, you know, we just didn't want to deal with it. And so renting for our lifestyle, her being home with the baby and then me being out working a lot, it just made sense for us in our minds. And while I'm still obviously a huge proponent of home ownership, it's what we do, and I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love home ownership, right? And I didn't believe in it, but for us, it made sense. So that's why we get irritated when people are like, oh, you got to buy a home. It's the only thing that makes sense. Renting, sometimes renting does make sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does. Are you paying somebody else's mortgage? Sure, you are. But there's other fees associated with home ownership and than just the mortgage, and it's important to understand that.
We're going through this debate right now with our parents, of all people, because our parents want to sell their house and they want to build a new house. However, they want to do it with cash. So they want to sell their house, and once their home sells, they want to use that cash to go and build a house. Well, sometimes that timeline doesn't always line up. And so we're talking about the possibility of renting for 6 months or 12 months, right? Because that's the lifestyle that they're going to be choosing, because my stepfather is going to be building the house himself. That's a lot of time and a lot of effort. And if he's also owning another house and trying to build a second house, he's going to be away. He's going to miss breakfast, lunch, dinner. He's not, like, he's got a full-time job as well, right? Like, all of these things that you have to factor in. And when somebody goes as far to say that you have to own a home in order to make it make sense, it's not true. And sometimes it's not practical. So at the end of the day, like we're saying, you know, Rochester is a great market for both rent and owning. You just have to figure out what is right for you right now in your life. What is going on in your life? Do you have young kids and you don't have time for maintenance and repairs and things of that nature? Because we have pretty brutal winters, right? We get a lot of ice damming on like the roof lines and stuff. So a lot of people in the wintertime get roof damage and they start to get leaks and things like that. Are you prepared to make those repairs or to deal with that kind of maintenance at this point in your life? Maybe you're just a single person with zero know-how.
And so, you know, we think this is an important debate because we will help you do whatever you want to do. It's our job to help you, and we love doing that. Whether it's renting or buying. And really our job, beyond facilitating you doing that, is also just educating you on the benefits and the disadvantages of both of them, right?
And helping you make a wise financial decision.
Because as we've discussed in this video, there are disadvantages and there are advantages to both. So it's important to understand that. It's important to just wrap your head around exactly what your lifestyle is, exactly what are you moving to the area for, right? If you're coming here just to see if you like the place, maybe you just want to experience the East Coast at some point in your life and you want to say that you did it, right? And you don't know if you're going to love it. You move here, you rent for a year or 2 years, and then you move back. Fine, that's great. But if you want to establish your rental portfolio or something like that, you can do that too. If you want to set roots here and move your family here and put your kids in school and all of that, that's amazing too.
Yep.
There's benefits to all of it.
Yeah.
So
and we're
there's
not
really no wrong answer.
And we're not the guys to steer you one way or another.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it doesn't impact our lives other than being happy that we helped you make a decision, right? That works for you and your family. And so with all of that said, guys, there's a number and an email on the screen. Feel free to reach out to ask us these questions, to talk through your situation. We can run like a financial statement to help you decide whether or not it's gonna make sense for you, or if you can afford a home here in Rochester. However we can help, just let us know.
And we wish there was a better answer for you. We wish that there was a one size fits all for you, because it would make our job a lot easier. It would make the weight on your mind a lot easier.
We have to sleep at night though.
But that is the fact of the matter. It's the truth that, you know, regardless of what you do, it has to make sense for you.
For sure.
And so with that being said, Avery mentioned the number and the email on the screen. Reach out. We'd love to help you make these decisions for you and your family. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you're notified every Tuesday and Thursday that we release a new video.
That's right. See you guys.